So welcome back, everybody. I think my hair, don't look at my part because I know it's crooked for real, but I think my hair might be crooked too, but just don't stare at it too much, okay? Anyways, this movie was good. I feel like I'm a bit biased because any movie with Idris Elba, I'm gonna watch, okay? Unless it's something just absolutely crazy. But I think I've seen like all of his movies, all or most of them. But anyways, at first my brother was like, "Are you sure you want to watch this movie?" And I was like, "Do you know me or do you know me? You know I like watching this kind of stuff. Man versus nature. Well, it doesn't have anything to do with that, or man versus, animal, but the whole thing with, animals like attacking people, killing people, like, Jurassic Park, Jaws. I just like those kinds of movies. And I don't know why. It is worrying, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, I was like, do you know me or do you know me? You know I like Idris Elba. You know I like these kind of movies. This is like, come on. All right. So anyways, I was watching this movie. This was a pretty good movie. I'm not gonna lie. I liked it. I enjoyed it. And I like how it takes place in Africa. I'm appreciative of that. Anyways, so the beginning of the movie, they show you a group of poachers who basically shot up a whole pride of lions. That made me mad. I was like, man, and they got people out there that's actually doing this stuff. They didn't have no remorse. They just unloaded on a whole group of lions. You just hear the lions roaring in pain, screaming, scruffling, trying to get out. And then I guess they were trying to look for the last one that they didn't kill. So they were talking like, okay, you go over there, I'm gonna go over here. This man sets up a trap. And I guess he forgets. And I guess in the moment, fine, because people were getting snatched left and right. And he was scared. I was scared for him, I'll be honest. And then he was looking around, then gets caught in the trap. And he's just, hanging upside down. I'm like, well, you might as well have rang the dinner bell yourself. You're fodder now. You're fodder now. You might as well have just got on the table, put an apple in your mouth, and presented yourself to the lion. So then they do like a jump scare where the lion comes out of like the bushes, and you can understand what happens after that. It gets him basically. So then they switch to the main character, Nate, and his children, his two daughters, Nora and Mare. Mare is the oldest, Nora is the second. Is the second born. See, I remember them names. I knew it was gonna do it. I knew it was gonna do better. Anyways. And then they meet up with his best friend who introduced him to his late wife and the guy who his daughters affectionately call Uncle Martin. So they go and they meet up at like a little place, like a little house. And I love how the house looked, the aesthetic, like how it incorporated, okay, the nature. Like I was here for it, And so you could tell there was some tension, in there. And they finally kind of sort of started to hash it out. And he was like, okay, Mare, if you got a problem, if you got a problem with me, then just say it, Like, don't be like beating around the bush, little jabs of animosity here. Just say it. I was like, yeah, she needs to go ahead and say this. Like, just go ahead and hash it out, whatever it is. She was like, we've been here for how long? And Uncle Martin has taken more of an interest in my photography than you have in the last year that Mom was alive. And Nora was like, please don't bring this up. Please don't bring this up right now. And she was just really mad at him because apparently they had got a divorce. And I think it was like the year after they had got a divorce, their mother developed cancer, or she had cancer basically. And she didn't make it. And so a lot of people, so they were mad. I guess, well, she was mad because she was like, well, you weren't there. And he was saying like, no, we both decided to split up. Like, I still cared about her, but we both decided it was for the best to split up. And she was like, yeah, but you just weren't there. You didn't see it in time. And then I was like, man. And then she kind of like stormed out. Well, Nora stormed out because she just didn't want to talk about it. I guess she just wasn't ready to talk about it yet, really. And then Mare was like, I shouldn't have said anything. I'm sorry. Like, I shouldn't have said anything for my sister. So she went after her to go check on her to make sure she was okay. And then him and Martin go outside. They were drinking and they were joking. And then he asked him, he was like, and I should have knew that question was gonna come, but it's reasonable though. He was like, so, why didn't you come to the funeral? And he was like, listen, like, I believe he wanted to be there, but he was like, I just didn't want to see her buried in like a concrete box, you know, like a concrete box, and that I just didn't want to see her buried there. Like, I just feel like she would have wanted to be buried here. And that's understandable. Like, if you know somebody well, you know that their burial's not being handled the way they would have wanted it to, that's completely understandable, you know. He was like, I respect that. And I thought that it was very mature of them to be able to have that conversation without like throwing punches, especially since they had been drinking and they were definitely drunk. So he was like, I understand, I respect that. And because, you know, they could have been throwing punches and whatnot. But anyways, then he starts to blame himself because he's like, I didn't see the signs. I'm a doctor. How could I not see the signs? And Martin was like, bro, you can't blame yourself. Like, you can't blame yourself. And then he felt bad because he felt he was just losing his grip with the girls. He was like, look, they're just in a lot of pain right now. They just need some time. Things will get better. You'll be fine, but you can't blame yourself. Like, he was saying, like, what happened was going to happen. There was nothing you could have done that was going to stop it. I was like, man, there ain't no telling how long he was carrying that. And I was just glad that somebody told him. You know, everybody needs somebody to tell them when these kind of things happen, it's not your fault. Don't beat yourself up. Anyway, so next morning, they decided to go out on the safari. So Martin proceeds to take them to where Pride of Lions are. And I think it was because, like, he had, like, well, I don't know. I just assumed that maybe he, like, helped raise them, or that they just, you know, that that's why they were so, like, lovey-dovey with him. And at first I was like, what is he doing? And then he gets out of the car. He's going closer to the lions. I'm like, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? The opposite of? And then they have a young man named Benji that came out. He had like a tranq rifle. And so he was like, this is just for precaution. And then he was getting all cozy with Mayor. And I was like, listen, see, this is how it happens. I hope you don't have a life back in the U.S. that you really want to go back to. Because this is how it happens. You travel somewhere, you meet somebody, and then bam, I don't know if I can go back to my life. But I don't know if I can uproot it. You know, like, I didn't paint the whole picture for them. But anyways, so he was like, this is just for precaution. So he's going over to the lions, and I'm like, what is he doing? And then one of the lions comes down off of the rock, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this lion is about to maul him to death. And they start like hugging and playing, and I'm like, well, that was better than what I thought it was gonna, you know, how I thought it was gonna go. And then he was like playing with the other male of the pride. And then he notices the female was injured. He was like, what's wrong with your paw, girl? Are you okay? And she got mad at him, which, you know, is understandable because the last time she was involved with a human, clearly she got shot. But so, you know, he was like, okay, I'm leaving. And so Benji was like, what's wrong? What is it? And he was like, maybe if you can, try and find like a vet and like send them over here because, you know, her paw is injured. It might have been those poachers trying to get him again. And they were like, man, those poachers. And he was like explaining to him how the poachers come and they like shoot up the lions. And, you know, Nate was like, okay, so why did they kill the animals? And he was like, because, you know, all these rumors about like their bones can do stuff, or like to have like, you know, some people just want like a lion head mounted up above their bed or their couch, or they just want bones in places, which is just ridiculous. And then Nora started talking about, oh yeah, I saw something about that, like online, the anti-poachers online. And then I didn't realize until after I saw the movie and I watched it again, because I did watch it again, Martin got real quiet when she mentioned that. I don't know if y'all saw that, but Martin got real quiet when she said that. She was like, oh yeah, I saw the anti-poachers online. And they kind of started to like laugh at her. And I was like, don't y'all laugh at that girl. And then he was like, okay, well, what, you know, Nate was like, okay, what is it, Dora? And he was like, something about like some anti-poachers had like shot at some people, like for real. And I was like, oh man, so they out here like actually like capping people for shooting these animals. Now, you know, the funny thing about that is, to me, that's not funny. But what I'm saying is the uncanny thing, that's what I mean by funny. The uncanny thing is, I had actually not too long ago saw like a story on the internet where some guy who was apparently a well-known like trophy hunter, like in Africa, like shooting animals, people were real mad at him because of course they, you know, that's the point of being a trophy hunter, you post it. So a lot of people were pissed off at him for shooting the animals that he was shooting. And then I guess somebody found him somehow. They found his truck, and then they found him with like a bullet wound in his head, basically. So I guess they assumed that somebody shot him. Sucker shot him, basically. Like, they basically capped him while he wasn't looking. And they're thinking it's because whoever it was mad because he was like a trophy hunter. That was like the thing. And I was like, wow, this reminds me of that story I read on the internet. I was like, oh man. And then, like I said, Martin was like driving the car like he was acting real quiet, real suspicious. And she was like, yeah, Uncle Martin, haven't you heard about him? He was like, people just want them to stop poaching the animals, that's all. And I was like, okay, Uncle Martin, yeah, sure. And then he was like, okay, we're gonna go to this little village real fast. We stop by the village, and, we can talk to some of my friends or whatever before we go back. And then they go to the village, and so they go in there, and they're like, where is everybody? And see, that was red flag number one. For nobody to be around, nobody was walking around. Like, everybody was, it was almost like a ghost town. You saw like a goat that was like walking, like, they're like, where is everybody? And they're like looking through, and then of course Martin comes upon everybody who has been slaughtered, apparently by the lion. I'm just like, how did one lion slaughter all those people? And I'm thinking to myself, because I watched this with my brother, and I was like, but how? Did he like slaughter them and then like drag them in there? Or what happened? Because at least 1 or 2 people could have got away while he was slaughtering everybody else, right? How did he slaughter everybody in that one place? And so my brother was like, oh, maybe when they saw the lion, somebody tried to kill it and then told everybody else to go hide. And then they all ran in there, and then it cornered them in there. And that's how it got him, And I was like, oh, you know what? You have a point. That might have been what happened. And so it was just bad, flies flying everywhere. And I'm like, but how did they not smell the stench of dead bodies though? Like, even if they didn't see anybody, they should have been like, what is that smell? But anyways, he was like, don't let the girls come in here. And he was like, what happened? How did this happen? He was like, some of these people were my friends. And he was just so unhappy. And I was like, man, that's awful. But anyways, then they go to, try and see if they can find anything else. And he was like, he's like, Mayor, watch your sister. And then Nora just wanders off, and then she screams because it was a little girl next to a, I don't want to call it a cow. It was like a bull. What was it? I don't know. I should know this. A cow. It was a cow. Okay. The cattle. There you go. Slaughtered both of them. And he was like, hey, are you all right? She was like, no, but I guess it will be. And then he was like, we gotta go find help. We gotta leave because this thing could still be around here. So then they get in the Jeep, and they're driving, and then some guy comes out of the bush, and I'm like, this is very, like I done told y'all, I like all of these kinds of movies, and I've seen most of them, unless they're like absolute awful quality. This scene reminded me of Jurassic Park, the third Jurassic Park, whenever they were on the plane, and the guy came out there talking about some, don't leave me behind, right before like the dinosaur like snatched him. And they were like, we can't stop this plane. And they were like, but we can't just leave him there. Like I said, that choice was decided for them when the dinosaur took him. But anyways, this reminded me of that. When he came on the little driving part. And they're like, we got to help him. And so Nate like went right to it. He's a doctor. He believes in saving people. He's going to do what he can. And so he was like trying to like save him. And I guess the guy just lost too much blood, and he was trying to like resuscitate him. It just didn't work. And I was like, dang, like that's just sad. You over here trying to have a whole vacation with your daughters, and then somebody ends up dead, and you were trying to save them and you couldn't save them. That's just awful. Just pile of trauma on, why don't you? Meanwhile, doggone it, Martin cocks the gun and was like, stay here. And I'm like, first of all, no, y'all should have picked him up and toted him back to the truck and been like, I don't know where the lion is. Clearly, it's like these wounds are fresh. He just got here. The lion is somewhere still around. We need to get the heck up out of here. No, he goes to try and go find the lion, I guess. So he's like wading through the water, and there's like crocodiles going into the water or whatever. And I'm like, first of all, in the safari in Africa, so much is there that is capable of killing you. You could just be walking down the street and something could pop up and bam, you gone. Get in the water. Alligator was in there, bam. Like anywhere you are there's animals, and you won't see them. Like they know that you're there. They're always gonna know that you're there, but you won't see them until it's too late. So I'm like, you better be careful. So then he's just walking, and then he stops because I guess he heard the lion. Then he turns around, he goes, ah, and then all you hear is a fire, like a gunshot or whatever. And then Nate is like, oh my God, was that Martin? And I was like, Martin then got. He had a good run. He was a good man. Got him early in the series, early in the movie. He was like, stay in the car, girls. And then he starts to go further into the grass. And I'm like, are you crazy? Are you crazy? You are defying logic right now. Get your tall butt back in that car. And then, doggone it, Mayor gonna get out of the car. And he was like, what did I just tell you? And all I hear is, rrr. And I was like, both of y'all need to be in the car now. And then he turns around, he looks, he's like, get in the car! And he starts running. That was hilarious how he said that. I'm sorry, it was. Then he starts running back to the car. She gets in the car. He barely gets in the car fast enough to not get his behind smacked by the lion, who runs into the car, cracks the window. They're all freaking out because they're like, oh my God, you almost didn't make it in, Dad. For the life of me, I couldn't understand why nobody was thinking about the window. I get it. They were all focused on the lion, but they forgot about the window. Then he jumps on the hood, and then he like jumps on top of the little sunroof and is like looking down at them. And they're like, don't worry, he can't get us in the car. Then he literally like tries to like get them from like the side of the window, and then like he switches places with Mayor. He's like, get in the back, hurry. And then that thing almost crawls through the window and grabs him. And he was like, you coming with me, brother. And he was like slowly going out the window. I'm like, do something before he gets snatched. And he was like, grab the wheel. And then Mayor grabs the wheel and she starts driving. And then he's almost out the window. And then, she starts driving, and that, makes it harder for the lion to hold on to him. And then the lion falls, and then he's able to get back in the car. And they weren't paying attention because they were so busy trying to get away from the lion that they didn't crash into, I don't even know what they crashed into, like a tree or something. Totaled the car. Then they get on the radio and they're like, Martin, are you there? They're all freaking out. They're like, Dad, nobody's going to find us out here. The cell phones aren't going to work because there's no cell phone reception. There could be nobody for miles. And he was like, Martin, can you hear me? And then he comes on the radio and he was like, yeah, I'm injured though. And I was like, man, well, at least he's still alive, but that's still a horrible way to go. Death by bleeding out. He was laying there. His leg was all scratched and busted up. He was like, bro, it's looking right at me. It's like he's using me for bait. And I'm like, that's probably exactly what he's doing right now. He's probably thinking, oh, that little technology is gonna draw more humans for me to, But anyways, so I was like, man, he's not gonna make it. And so Mayor was like, we can't leave Uncle Martin out there. He's out there with the lion. And I'm like, listen, Uncle Martin is dead. Forget about Uncle Martin. Uncle Martin is gone. That's out of the question. He was like, just stay in the car. I'm gonna figure out something to do. So they look for like a rifle. They have a trank rifle. So he's trying to get the stuff out there, and like, listen, I don't even think any of them knew how to really use a gun or how to aim, which there are no judgments here because I don't. But he gets the trank rifle. He puts his tranquilizers in there, or one of the tranks in there. He was like, okay, I'm going to stand on top of the car and I'm going to wait for him to come out and I'm going to try and shoot him. And it's going to give us a little time to try and do something like escape or something. So he gets on top of the car and they're making all this noise. And he's like, stay in the car. Don't do nothing stupid. And then she gets out of the car because we got to save Uncle Martin. She gets out of the car and he's like, what are you doing? And then the lion shows up and I'm like, oh my God. And then he's like, just run. So thankfully, the lion went after him and not her. She was able to run. Nothing would have stopped me from getting back in that car. But that's neither here nor there. She runs to go get Uncle Martin because the lion is there. He tries to shoot. He misses. Like I said, no judgments because I'm not some sharpshooter, okay? And then he falls off of the truck because the lion lunges at the truck to get him, knocks him off the truck. He falls on the ground on the other side. And then the lion is like below looking at him like, I got you now. And then he tried to go around to get him. He's scrambling to get under the car. I was screaming so much. I was like, get out, get under the car, get the rifle, kick him. And it was just, that sent my blood pressure up a little bit. Lion trying to get up under there and he's like trying to kick it and kick sand in his face. And then when it stopped a little bit, you know, and then poor Nora, she don't know what's going on. She don't have eyes underneath the car. All she hears is, you know, the sound of the lion trying to get to him and him screaming. If all she know, her father could be getting mauled to death. So anyways, he manages to keep himself safe under the car. And then it stopped messing with him for a little bit, but I think it only did that to like bait him out. And then she was like, the rifle is on the ground. Get the rifle, Dad. And then he tries to crawl from under there, but didn't make it in time because the lion came back. Then he tried to crawl under again. He finally got it. And then he was like using it to fight him off. And then so Nora was like, I got to do something. So she starts looking. I feel like Nora was like a daddy's girl for real. Like she was like looking through the stuff. She was like, oh, I got one of the darts. She opens the window while he's trying to get to her dad and then stabs him in the butt with one of the darts. And I was like, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. And then it like gets mad and then it goes off. And he was like, what you do? And she was like, I stabbed him with one of the, she was so adorable. She was like, I stabbed him with one of the darts. And he was like, oh, okay, good. And so he's like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. Are you okay, Dad? And he's like, yeah. He was like, but Mary's still out there. And so she manages to get to Uncle Martin, which I don't know how they didn't get mauled while she was out there. But I guess he just got mad because he got stabbed with the dart. He just went to go, you know, cool off about it. She manages to get back to, you know, the car with Uncle Martin. And then shortly thereafter, this doggone lion, he was resilient. Like, he was on a warpath. He was out for bloody vengeance, y'all. They were like, Dad, I thought you said he was going to be out for hours. And he was like, I don't understand. Like, he's supposed to be. And he was just like, kind of like walking around looking at them like, you know that song, that creepy song that guy made? I don't know his name. It was like, every step you take, every move you make, I'll be watching you. Like, this was the theme song for that lion in that moment. He was just sitting there like, oh, don't worry, I'll be waiting. Y'all gotta come out of there soon. Eventually, y'all gonna have to come out of there. And I'll be waiting for you. They were like, doggone it. So he gets Uncle Martin in the car, and he's like, you know, tending to his wounds. And he's like, we ain't got a lot of water. We got to make it last because, listen, somebody will find us. And so Mary was like, I'm not so sure about that. And she was like, listen, somebody will find us. Okay. And so they go to rest, and he has all kind of nightmares. And that one nightmare, he's talking about some, Mare, Noah, I'm tripping. Mare, Nora, where are y'all? And then he turns on the headlights, and they just standing outside. Why would they just be standing outside? And then the lion gets them. But that's the kind of stuff, you know, that's pretty realistic though. You know, it's kind of nightmares, you know, you be having, like, you've been seeing some of that kind of traumatic stuff. And then he starts to talk to Mare, and they were able to have a genuine conversation about his wife, her mom, and clear up some things and explain some stuff. And it was needed. I mean, it sucks that they were, you know, it took a life-threatening situation for them to, you know, have the conversation, but at least it did. But anyways, so they were in there until late nighttime. And then finally somebody shows up. So Nate is like, y'all stay in the car with Uncle Martin. And he gets out and he was like, please help me. Like, we were running from, like, we're in a bad way here. And I have a friend, he's like, I have my two daughters and my friend back there, he's busted up, okay? Well, I guess shredded up would be like the proper terminology, because I'm assuming that it was like the claws that did that. Anyways, so he finds out that they're poachers, and I'm like, oh my God, nothing good can come from these kinds of people. And they were like, what are you doing out here? And they were like, we were running from a lion. And they were like, oh, that was the lion that we were trying to get last night. I'm like, oh, so these are the evil human beings that shot up that pride last night. That's the reason why this lion is out here killing people right now. He was like, listen, we just need a ride out of here, okay? And they were like, are you American? Can you pay us American dollars? I'm like, really? These people are in a, like, they're trying to survive. Like, they just almost died. And all you're concerned about is money. Like, I get it, but my God, like, can you at least help them first? And then be like, listen, I'm in a bind. Like, I might need like a couple of $1,000s if you could spare it. But not let that be based off of whether you help them or not. And that was just so trash. Like, he was like, yeah, I have American dollars. Like, I can give you some American dollars. And they're like, 10,000. I'm like, How did he even know he has $10,000? Anyways, he was like, yes, I can give you 10,000 American dollars if you help us. I was like, wow, these people, the audacity. And he was like, okay, fine. And then they start going to the car. And I'm like, why are they doing that? Just listen, if you said you're going to help them, just tell him to get his people out of the car and then get into one of y'all's cars. They open the door. They see Martin after he rolls over. They see Martin and they're like, oh, heck no. They slam the door. And he was like, he's the anti-poacher that shot 3 of my men. And that's what I was saying earlier in the movie when I was like, he was acting real suspicious when Nora brought up those anti-poachers. Because he was that anti-poacher. Anyways, who shot the guys? Anyways, they're like, who are you? And they pushed them all down to the floor, punched him, then was taking his daughters. I was like, this is not good, bro. I was like, first of all, don't let them take your daughters. And second of all this commotion is going to draw the line. That's what I was thinking to myself. Y'all just rang the dinner bell again. Like, congratulations. And just as I was thinking that, the lion comes and literally lunges at somebody. And I was like, listen, that lion is probably going to take out most of them. So whichever car they got out of, just take the car and go. Just take the car and go. And so he gets his daughters back. They all go back into the car. And they're like, he was like, look, one of the cars already left. The other car, I couldn't find the keys. It has to be on one of the guys. Just stay here. I will go get the keys. And we're going to get in that car. And we're going to get out of here. And they were like, please be careful, Dad. And they gave him like a walkie. So he's like, I told my brother that he looked like everybody's black dad with that outfit that he had on. And that's not an insult. That's just, he looked very like dad-ish, not like dad bod, like with the fat pot belly or whatever. No offense. Like but he just looked like everybody's black dad. There, I said it. Anyways. So he's walking with the walkie hooked on like his waist or whatever. And he has the gun, or I think he had the trank rifle. He had took something with him. So he's like, no, he didn't have the rifle at that time. He just had the walkie. So he's like walking, and he hears like people shooting, the lion mauling people. So he goes through the marshes, not the marshes, but you know what I'm saying, the water. I'm like, but see, now you got to be careful of the alligators because they could be out there too. God forbid, like anything else. And so he gets to like that place. It looked like the place that Martin was whenever they found him out there. And he was standing hiding behind a tree because the lion was like wading through the water, like looking for him, you know. And then he accidentally bumps into, first of all, what even was that hanging from the tree? If anybody knows, please tell me in the comments. What even was that hanging from the tree? And then secondly, the way he bumped into it and he was trying to hurry up and grab it to keep it from making noise, that was hilarious. And then the lion's looking like, I got you now. And so he climbed that tree mighty fast, y'all. He climbed that tree mighty fast. And then the lion is like looking and sniffing around. And then he also almost got caught because they were trying to radio him because they were just nervous because they didn't, they just want to know if he was okay. But then they almost got him ate. And so he just puts the walkie down. And at first I thought that he had smashed it with his foot, but I think he just turned it off. And he climbs up the tree. And so the lion is just like sniffing like, well, he was here. And then he's in the tree. And then, he just had the worst string of events. Doggone snake is just slithering right at him. He's just like, I'm like, if he screams, he's a dead man. And if he gets bit, he's probably a dead man still because there's no telling what kind of, it was too dark for me to even try to begin to tell what kind of snake that was and if it was venomous or not. But he braves up, man. He was brave. And he grabs the snake and then he drops it and it falls off. I was like, did he mean to do that? Or was that on purpose or was that an accident? And then it bit the lion and the lion was like freaking out. And I was like, man, if only it was like a cobra or something and it delivered enough venom to kill him. But anyways, so then he comes down from the tree and then he grabs the thing and he's like wading in the water, like neck deep, trying to hide from the lion. And then she starts blowing the horn. Because, they don't know. They're thinking maybe, like, something happened to him. They're trying to distract the lion from him, I guess. He's like, dang it, what are they doing? But it did. It worked that time. So they did it perfectly. That was a little uncanny, but perfect timing. And then he comes out of the water. And he's like, I'm sorry about this, man. He's, like, checking the guy. He gets the keys. He takes the rifle. I'm like, thank goodness. And then he starts to try to make his way there. He's like, okay, I'm almost back, girls. Just hang in there. And then because she blew the horn, the lion comes back and he like, jumps on the car again, and they're like freaking out. And so Uncle Martin was like, just stay away from the windows. And then you see him to the left, like go out. Like I'm thinking, okay, maybe he's giving up again. Maybe he's giving up again and he doesn't want them anymore, right? Or he's gonna wait again. It's like, see, he's just gonna leave us alone and we're just gonna sit here and we're just gonna wait it out. And then he makes a U-turn. He does an about flank, if you will, and then takes off running. So he wasn't walking away. No, he was giving himself a running start. He takes off running and shoves himself in the car with them through the window and starts like doing this kind of thing, scratches up Mare. And he's like, get out of the car, go through the back, get out of the car. He's about to send us over the cliff. And they're getting out of the car, barely make it out of the car. The lion, the car, and Uncle Martin go off the cliff. I'm like, Uncle Martin is gone. Like he had a good run. He survived getting attacked by a lion, being in there, not bleeding to death. He survived. He had a good run. This man is still alive. Like, how is he still alive? Like, not that I'm upset, but how is he still alive? Anyways, Uncle Martin is still alive. Uncle Martin was vigilant, okay? And the car is turned over to the side. How is the lion even alive? But whatever. Anyways, movie logic, plot armor, if you will. The gas tank then got punctured, or it's leaking. Gas is leaking in the car. I'm like, well, if he wasn't dead, he about to be dead. Because the slightest I chew or move or spark, that car is going kabang. And so I was like, well, maybe if he just plays dead, the lion will go away and he can like get away before it explodes. No, he was up. He sees the lion, and the lion sees him and is like, oh, clearly the car didn't do the job. So let me finish that. And he tries to like crawl his way. That was just creepy, y'all. That was nightmare fuel. He tries to crawl his way into the car with Martin to try to finish the job. I was like, that's one resilient lion, man. And he like takes out that lighter. I was like, oh, he about to light it up. But he gonna go up too. I was like, doggone it. But he about to light it up. He lit it up. He was like, sorry, boy. He lights it up, and you hear the sound of the lion screaming, and I'm like, I want to believe that the lion is dead, but we know that that's not how this kind of stuff ends. We know it. And then Nate sees something go up in flames, and then he gets nervous because all he knew was that his daughter and his best friend was in the car. And so he goes back, and they were like, Uncle Martin was in there, and it went off the cliff. We don't think he made it. And he was just standing there like what he didn't need is to lose somebody else that was close to him. So they get in the car. Mare had to suffer that whole entire trip until they found somewhere. So he finds that old, it was like I think it was like a poster's lodge, they said. She was like, man, I hate this place. Why people gotta be like this? And so he starts to try and, find stuff to help dress her wound. And I'm like, that lion is out there. I just know it because this ain't the end of the movie. I just know it. Like, it's the end, but it's not the end. He's out there. He's going to be all just ragged. His fur going to be all ragged and charred. Like, it's not even true to me that he survived that fall. And getting exploded in a car, that's some wolf cookies. But I'll eat them. I'll eat them gladly. Anyways, so he's dressing the wound, and he's like, okay, let me go find like a radio or something. While he's trying to find that, this line is like slowly creeping. And that's how I told you, that's how they do. You don't know that they're there until it's too late, but they always know where you are. And so I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Do y'all not have an idea of what a peripheral vision is? I know he was kind of far away and he was blending in, but y'all didn't see nothing slowly moving through the shrubbery out there. Anyways, then it comes inside, and she was like, Mare, we gotta get up. She was like, what are you talking about? She's like, the lion is out there. And then she's trying to like help her sister get up and then hide. And they were like, Dad! And the doggone lion was mad because he couldn't find him. And then he was like, hey, come chase me. And I was like, man, I guess he's out of bullets. Yeah, because I remember he was out of bullets because he gave the rifle to Nora, and he was like, okay, you can put that down now. And she was like, what about this? You should take this with you. He was like, that thing's no good. It's out of bullets. And I was like, it's a horrible time to be out of bullets, man. And so he takes off running, and they weren't too far. Like, whenever they came to that poacher's lodge, they actually weren't too far from that pride of lions that they had saw earlier. And so he started running, and the lion was kind of just, I mean, he was chasing him, but you could tell he was like savoring the chase. And he didn't just like scratch him across the neck or jump and bite him and put him out of his misery quick. No, he took his time. It was really brutal and kind of sad, actually. I was like, oh, like it was so sad watching him. Like it was like the lion had become like sadistic, and he wanted his prey, the humans, to suffer. That's what he wanted, for shooting up his pride. Like, that was all he had in this life, and they took that from him. So he wanted as many as he could make suffer, and that's exactly what he did. Like I said, again, it reminds me of in Jurassic Park, the second one, or the last one, the Jurassic Park. What was it? No, it wasn't Dominion. It was the other one with the Indoraptor, when it was like chasing the little girl through the halls. And then she went and got into bed, and I was like, I mean, you could have at least got under the bed. I mean, I feel like that would have been more protection than you just hiding under the sheets. The sheets ain't gonna do nothing for you, but at least he got to flip the bed to get to you, like if you get under the, anyways. And he was like taking his little creepy finger, and like, you know, that scene where he was like slowly, like, you know, and I was like, that scene is nightmare fuel too. So it reminded me of that, like how it, like I said, it became sadistic, and it wanted to savor getting its revenge, getting its vengeance. Like, it was just like slapping him and like cutting him and like, you know, rolling him around and like biting him. Like, it wasn't doing, like, it was doing damage, but it wasn't doing like quick fatal damage, you know. And I was like, man, he's gonna take his time and like do this. Like, I don't know if I want to watch this anymore. But then the other lions finally decided to get in on the party, right? And I was like, what took y'all so long? What took them so long? He almost died. And so finally, the other lions were like, hold on, wait a minute. We met him earlier today, and that's some rogue lion. You can't be coming up in our territory. This is our turf. You got to get up out of here. And then they teamed up on him. Like, before he could like run up on him, because like he knocked him over that one time. He was like crawling, trying to get away. And before he could pounce on him again, they got him. And I was like, this is cool. I like this. This was great. And they took him out. And then Banji showed up. And he was like, get the trank rifle. Get the lions away from him. And I was like, please. And then he just goes out. And then he comes back and he's in the hospital. And they were like, you ran out there because you knew that if you led that rogue lion to that pride, that they would kill him because he's like intruding on their territory, right? And he was like, I was just trying to protect y'all. I was like, man, I don't want to know. I feel like this was based on like a real movie. Maybe it wasn't, but in theory, like based on the injuries that he got, like I'm waiting for the channels that like do this kind of stuff. Like, based on the injuries that he got, how many stitches did it take, and how long was his recovery period? That's what I want to know. But anyways, then that last scene was them, for some reason, back in Africa, taking a beautiful picture. He was still, you know, walking on a cane, but he was better. Taking a beautiful picture, you know, with Mare, because that was her thing. She wanted to be a photographer. And it was a really warm ending. It sucked that Uncle Martin died, although it was good that they could get out alive, you know, and that their family, I believe, was strengthened because of that. But yeah, like I said, I thought this was a pretty good movie. You know, got a good amount of jump scares in there, you know, every I guess it would be like a thriller horror kind of thing. They all have to have, you know, a certain amount of, you know, they gotta meet that quota, right, for jump scares. So it definitely had its fair share. It had Idris Elba, like, come on now. Anyways, but yeah, this was a good movie. I did enjoy it, I really did. But yeah, y'all tell me what y'all think down in the comments below.